Hi, I'm Phoebe Grover with Grover Mortgage Group.
And I'm Natalie Van Cardo with the Nat Nate Real Estate Team.
Welcome to our new podcast,
Real Estate of Mind,
where we discuss real estate, life, and everything in between.
We're excited for you to follow us and join in on our journey.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, Real Estate of Minders.
Today we are going to talk about navigating the real estate market as a tenant.
Yeah.
So last time we did
About landlords and like what landlords should think of and some of the rules that they need to abide by. So I think giving tenants the same kind of info would be
perfect.
Useful. Yeah. Especially like I'm doing a lot of leases right now, both commercial and residential. But we're just going to keep as residential today.
As residential, because commercial is a whole other
I love
ball
it.
game.
I'm obsessed with commercial. Anyways,
Really?
I love it.
Okay, I might be like looking into a commercial lease, so you got to help me with one.
Yeah.
I need all
my
the
jam.
information. Okay, amazing. Okay, so we are going to start off with, I'm just going to ask Natalie some questions and she's going to just
Try
embark
to
her
answer.
wisdom on us.
And my memory, which is not active today.
No, I literally did spin last night and my legs are jello.
I love spin. I want to get back to it so bad. But yeah, the feeling of like when you get off the bike and like you unlatch your foot. You're like,
Unclip your foot,
oh my
yeah.
God, I'm always scared I'm going to like fall.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's crazy. So yeah, we might be a little bit slow today. Sorry. Okay, let's start off by talking about what is going on in the market right now. Like, what are you seeing in terms of prices? How has the market evolved since the pandemic or even the past couple of years?
Okay, so I think since last year, it's known that rental pricing has gone down. It does not meet the full amount that a landlord is dishing out each month. So a lot of leases are net negative for a landlord. So the amount of negotiation that we have in terms of leases is very small. It's always been kind of like $50 to $100-ish that we can kind of negotiate, nothing drastic, but even more so now, landlords are kind of holding to their number unless they're like in complete desperation. But it's still expensive. So I've been helping people, actually a particular client of mine, he's looking for his daughter to rent either a condo or a townhome in and around Guelph for her school.
Okay.
So she goes to the University of Guelph. So we're just kind of looking at all the different options. And like, it's pretty well relative of what you can get around here for that same pricing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like for a 1-bedroom condo or a 2-bedroom condo, actually 1-bedroom plus den is around like $2,400, if not higher, 25, 26. Yeah.
Oh my God, I rented my 2-bed, 2-bath for $2,700.
Yeah, well, you're Oakville. I'm thinking like Burlington and all the other places, but even you got a really good amount for yours because even across the street at Taunton Drive, where my other client is, he didn't get anywhere near that. Like the year before, he got 26, and this past year he only got 24, and it was like so hard for him to get 24.
Oh no.
Yeah, so. And it's still competitive, depending on the product type that you're looking at. So you could be in multiple offers, and then some there isn't. So it's kind of like a toss up depending on how good the property is. So yeah, they all kind of range.
So would you say like over the past year, rent prices have gone up or gone down?
I think we're kind of in line still from last year, but it's gone down.
It's gone down. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing too. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
Especially with the cost of like mortgages going up. They
Yeah.
haven't kind of equalized out yet.
But I think with like interest rates going down and people like trying to get back into like the market, like buying, I think less people are renting maybe? Or no, do you still see the same?
So when prices were sky high and everybody was buying, rent went up because it was harder to find rentals. Right? Does that make sense?
No, it was because nobody was able to purchase, so everybody wanted to rent.
Thank you. That's exactly
Supply and demand.
That's exactly what I meant. It did
I know
not
you
come out
meant,
that.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that didn't come out right. Yes. So it was supply and demand. Here, there's like it depends on where you are. Like rentals don't really last long on the market.
Yeah.
Especially with certain places that I have other clients looking, they don't last long. But again, like the negotiation room is small. And like if I have another client who's looking, and if we don't go right away because her price point's a little bit more aggressive for kind of Oakville, Burlington area. If we don't go right away, it'll be gone by the next time we try to book a showing.
Oh, wow. It's going that fast?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So people are still looking to rent.
Oh yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good
That
to know.
hasn't really changed.
Good to know. Okay. We talked about all that. Okay. So let's talk about the latest rental laws and tenant rights in Ontario.
I think we touched most of it. Like the same kind of applies. So in terms of like rental increases, it's a landlord can up the rent up to 2.5% a year. There's obviously certain properties, if they're a newer build, that they don't have a cap on them. And then like if a landlord wants to evict you, there's more stricter rules.
That's important.
There's more stricter rules. So they can evict you because of non-payment. But again, they have to file all the proper paperwork through the landlord and tenant board and provide you written notice with everything. So lack of payment, destruction of the property is another one. Or if they're going to use it for their own personal use, like a family member or themselves are moving back in. And then the last one, if they're doing significant renovations.
Yeah, like, so don't be scared, tenants. Like, you're not just going to get evicted for no reason. Like a landlord, first of all, it's very, very hard to evict a tenant in any scenario. Like,
yes.
We tried back in like 2020 with my parents' property. They stopped paying rent and they destructed our property, and we still couldn't evict them properly. So if you're being a perfect tenant, like you're not just going to get evicted for no reason. But that being said, like, treat somebody else's property like it's your own. Obviously, don't do these things that may get you evicted.
And like if you have like a very good relationship with your landlord, which you should be trying your hardest to create, then they'll give you ample notice of like, hey, we're probably going to be moving in my daughter or son into the home. So like you should probably start looking. We'll give you time. We'll be flexible with it, whatever it may be.
And I think you need to give 60 days anyways, right?
Yeah. They have to give you ample time. And that is enough time for you to go ahead and find another property.
Yeah. For example, my lease is coming up end of March. And I literally just texted my tenants being like, hey, what is your game plan? Are you looking to extend or are you looking to purchase? Because I need to know. I need to figure out if we're extending their lease or if I'm looking for new tenants. And
exactly.
60 days is enough time to get all that. So yeah, your landlord should be communicative with you. If they're not, then feel free to text them with any issues or concerns you may have. Like definitely always have that.
Yeah, you also want to go to them too. I have like clients that are tenants right now, and they a couple months before, even more than 60 days before, I reach out to them and say like, hey, are you guys looking to renew? If so, give them the heads up, let your landlord know that this is like kind of what you're thinking. And then it kind of creates that dialogue where if the landlord is thinking of moving, they'll say, hey, we're actually potentially selling the property or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But most of the time I deal with good tenants. Their landlord wants them to stay.
Oh my God, I want my tenants to stay.
Yeah.
Like so badly. I'm like, the thought of having to get new tenants is so scary to me. My tenants are such a blessing from God. Like,
yeah.
I don't want them to leave.
Landlord, I think it can happen, but it's not common anymore.
I don't think so.
No. Like I know I had one client who had to move out of a property because there was severe water damage. She did not rent it through a realtor. She rented on her own. And then I was helping her like get out of the situation. So yes, if you do rent on your own and like find a rental without an agent, I find like the risk is higher. Is it significantly higher? Probably not. But just do your research and make sure you feel confident with the person that you are renting from.
Yeah. Like in our last episode, we talked about how landlords need to have all these like rigorous checks on their tenants to ensure that they're renting up to a proper person. But we think you guys as tenants also need to make sure that you're comfortable with the landlord, because at the end of the day, it's their home and you want to, want to make sure that you're comfortable with them, right? Like that it's both ways. The relationship goes both ways.
And
for
I
sure.
find like tenants can get their back up very easily if a landlord is asking a lot of questions. And I find like nowadays it's normal for a landlord to want to know a lot about the tenant,
Especially in this economy.
Yeah, there's a lot of fraud out there. Like I'm petrified of like requesting or like saying, "Hey, these are good people," or they look good on paper, and then anything be fraudulent because it's very hard to
tell.
trace. Yeah. So like that's my fear as a realtor helping my landlords. So obviously we want to ask them as many questions as possible to make sure that they are who they say they are.
Okay, so it says here new protections against illegal evictions. Like, what can tenants do in the case of a landlord unlawfully trying to evict them?
So if they say they are moving in a family member, but they're not, that they're like selling, it's not something that you would know right away. It's something that you would kind of see afterwards. But like, do you really want the headache? Because I think if they are kind of moving back in, they have to provide you, I think, a month or 2 months rent back to them. They have to pay you for that, for moving back in as a family member.
The landlord
Yeah,
does?
they do. Yeah, now they do.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Should we look that up right now?
Yeah.
I think it is. I'm going to say yes, it's true.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So once you move out, like, do you want that headache to kind of track them down? Hopefully you have a good experience and it's not the case, but say they are doing something illegal, contact the landlord and tenant board.
I was going to say, yeah.
If they're not providing you with the proper documentation, I'd say, I need this in writing. Keep asking everything for in writing, create that paper trail on your end. And then if you do have any questions of like what your rights are or what you should be entitled to, that is what the landlord and tenant board is there for. So like give them a call. They will give you the answers right there on the spot.
And honestly, the tenant and landlord website is so good towards tenants. Like you guys definitely have a lot of the rights. So you guys will definitely be taken care of. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, a landlord is like the landlords I know, they're scared. They're so scared to make an improper move or do anything that could be negative on their part. So yeah, they're very careful.
Like you guys will be fine if you try to illegally get evicted. I can't see it actually going through, especially if you go to the landlord and tenant board. Like I can't see it actually like coming to fruition unless they have like a really, really good reason as to why they want to evict you, because in Ontario, like everyone deserves a place to live. So they can't illegally evict you.
The amount of proof that they need to have, like you're saying, like it takes months for them to prove this through the courts and stuff. So it's just a messy process.
Okay. So let's talk about things you should know before signing a lease.
Ooh, yeah.
Because this is really important and probably a lot of people don't know much about it.
Yes.
Including myself, honestly.
I think the easiest thing for me to point out is the pets rule. A lot of landlords will put their, even realtors will put in like no pets. So even if you were to sign that, yes, I agree to no pets, by law, you're allowed to have a pet. So you can bring one in afterwards and they can't do anything about it. So that's a plus for you. You want to make sure that the rental amount at first and last is the actual like amounts, because you want to make sure the math all lines up. You want something that outlines what you're responsible for in terms of like utilities and what the landlord is responsible for, and even like care of the property. So if it's a detached house or something like that, where there's grass, a driveway, you want to kind of put that in writing as what is expected of you, and vice versa. And what else? Just the clauses, make sure you read them through. So like I go through them with my client, ask if they have any understanding. A lot of people have questions regarding the insurance that's required. Yes, insurance is required.
Tenant insurance.
Yeah. And a lot of them now it's up to $2 million that they're asking for. So yes, that is something that you need to have. It protects you and your stuff as well. But yeah, just making sure that you have clear understanding of what you are agreeing to. And if there's any questions, ask your realtor, get clarification on them before you go ahead and signing on the dot.
And that being said, I think as a tenant, you should go through a realtor when getting a rental.
I
don't think you should go by yourself to do it, because it's like a lot of things that you would not have knowledge in.
Yeah. So like people that I've come into contact with that have done it on their own for so long and then have done it with me, they're kind of like, oh, like that was really easy. Or like they learned something new that they had no idea about. So I think it is advantageous for you to go with a realtor. Again, it costs you nothing.
Yeah, which is the best.
The one thing I will say, we work off of MLS. And there's a lot of websites out there like Facebook Marketplace and all those things that don't necessarily list on MLS. So those are great avenues to kind of look for as well, and do that on your own. But then there's also the scamming part of it too, which that's another thing. Because I hear like I've heard it in the news, I've heard it like personal stories of people like that put deposits down and then it's gone because it's not the place that they thought it was.
Or it's like not even real.
Yeah, which is why like why are you putting a deposit down if you haven't seen the property?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
yeah, just be mindful of what
But that's
you're
the
doing.
thing. That's why we say like use realtor so they can do their due diligence and do like background checks and actually go like vet the property. Like if you're not available to go see it, at least your realtor can go see it for you, you know?
I want to know how many realtors actually look at like the landlord name and if they go cross it reference with Geo Warehouse to see if
Oh,
they're
like the
actually
title?
owner. Like, are you the actual owner? I do that all the time.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Because like, who is this person?
Wow, that's really smart.
So I'm just like, how many people actually do that?
Probably not a lot.
I don't know. I think a lot of people just, it's the lease. It doesn't matter. But for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it does matter.
Yeah.
My
No,
clients are
that's actually
paying
really
money to
smart.
Somebody.
Yeah. See, this is why you need a realtor
Yeah.
because
And like if you see two people's name on like the on land registry and not on the lease, like I'm gonna ask, like, hey, what's the situation?
so true.
Like why?
Or
are both-
like what if it's like a sublet situation where like the person renting from it is like renting to somebody else and then
they'll
you
have
know?
to say technically they have to say it's a sublease. But like I had a situation where it was a husband and wife, and just the husband was as the landlord, and I'm like, oh, like are they separated? Like what is it? Because I don't want my clients to move in and then like, oh, by the way, my husband wasn't allowed to lease out the property. So
oh my God, I
I'm
didn't
just
even think
nervous.
about that.
This is where
Yeah.
my head goes.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, they have a signed lease. But yeah, I just want that reassurance from the other realtor, like everything's okay.
So
Put
is
that in
a
writing.
signed lease as binding as like a purchase agreement is?
Technically, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy. Wow.
Like the Ontario
yeah.
lease. Yes.
Mhm.
Our lease apparently is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which did not know that until
Mhm.
recently, but yeah, make sure you get the standard Ontario lease form or
Yeah. So I'll
whatever
just
it's
like to
called.
reiterate. So there's a new form that has to be signed. It's called the Ontario lease agreement. So that has to be signed. The way that realtors typically do it is we do it on our forms because it has all of the clauses that we can add. And it's a little bit more flexible than in writing. And then once everything's agreed to, then that gets transpired onto the Ontario lease agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need that.
Yes.
Important. Okay. Any hidden fees people should watch out for at all?
Hot water tank rentals are being passed on to
That's
yes,
crazy.
on
What?
to
I've never heard that before.
the tenant. It's the one thing that irks me. I don't know why it does. Like I always fight against it for my tenants. Because I feel like it's, yes, they're using it, but this is a rental item that you have. And it's 50-50. Some landlords say that's fine. We'll keep paying for it. And others like, no, you have to pay for it. So it's definitely something I bring to my tenants, to their attention, and then try to get it written in that they don't have to pay for it. But at the end of the day, I would say 50-50, whether they have to or not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And negotiating rent, is it possible in today's market? Or should tenants like not even try to negotiate?
No, you always like, yes. As the end of the day, everything is technically negotiable. But if you are checking what the last comparable leases I've gone for, and they're pretty much at the same amount, then you kind of know that you don't have much wiggle room. The only time that I would say like, let's push it a little bit more is if it's a newer development and you see tons of leases in the area, like there's too much competition.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, which one's more desperate? Because if they're all the same unit, there's really no difference. So
Yeah.
that way you can kind of gain a little bit more in negotiating, but it's very minimal as to what you can negotiate, like how much, because these are not huge profit margins that we're dealing with.
No, really not at all.
Yeah.
People, I swear people are already like listing at like their lowest point that they can like possibly take.
Yeah.
And then if you even try to negotiate on that, yeah, you probably aren't going to get
Like, are you
much of a
crazy?
discount. Yeah.
This is net negative. That's all I keep hearing, which is it's true.
Okay, so red flags when apartment hunting. We talked about that.
Oh, when apartment hunting?
Yeah.
Oh, condition of the property. Like if you
Yeah.
go through a property, I'm literally dealing with this right now. Okay, so we've walked in. The current tenants are not taking care of the property. Like it's dirty. It's like cluttered. There's a lot going on. And I'm talking to the realtor and he in his mind thinks it looks like the past pictures that he took when these people were not moved in. And I keep asking, like, have you gone to the property recently? And his response is no.
Oh my god.
So we're negotiating on like deep cleaning and paint because the kitchen is like oil splatters that will not come off.
Brutal.
We're negotiating on this. I'm like, and you're not even physically seeing it. So yes, if the property or even if it's vacant and there's lots of damage to it, it's a flag to me that the landlord's not coming in and kind of repairing these things.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's actually brutal. How could you list something without seeing it?
Don't get me started.
That's insane.
That's another tangent.
Oh my god. What should be disclosed to the tenant by the landlord?
I guess if there's like a significant leak but again, they need to
Mold
be like,
issues.
yeah, or like, hey, we found this from the last tenant. We are remediating it.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would be nice. Do a lot of them do it? Yes. And like, no, you can kind of see for the most part. And then I make sure I ask for the house to be deep cleaned. And my clause for cleaning is very strong handed.
Yours is good.
I've changed it since then.
Really?
Yes. I like for when I'm using it for a tenant opposed to like a landlord, it's different. So yeah, like I want actual physical proof.
That's
and then
good.
like it says like if my clients aren't satisfied with it and they have to go clean it professionally, that like the landlord would pay for the cost.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. Okay. Cost of living, rent versus home ownership, the pros and cons of renting in Ontario versus buying a home in 2025. We've talked about this in previous episodes. It's hard to kind of compare, and it's also really dependent on where you are financially and in your life, right?
Yeah, I think it's like the same points don't change no matter what market we're in.
Yeah.
It's like, what is your goal? Is your goal to own a home and to have equity in something, or do you not want to maintain a house at all and just rent? Because that's like essentially renting is kind of you're kind of scot-free of having to do any upkeep, any maintenance, any of it. Where home ownership, you're investing a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you're ideally getting it back at some
Later,
point.
hopefully. Yeah.
I think majority of people, their dream is to own a home.
Yeah. It also just depends like how much of a down payment you have, if you can qualify for a mortgage. If you want to own a home, like maybe some people just never want to own a home, you know?
Yeah, there are some people I've encountered like I will always rent.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But like the ones that are teetering on the fence of like I have to rent because I can't afford, then I suggest them calling you and creating like a plan as to get them like how to get them to home ownership, how to save and all that stuff.
And the government has come out with some really good rules that we touched upon in our last episode too, that you know, they raise the bar for purchase prices on insured homes, which is nice. Like now you can buy up to 1.5 million and don't have to put down 20%, which is making it a lot easier, right? Sure, and you can now stretch it to a 30-year amortization as well instead of 25, which makes it a lot easier. So there are things that are coming into play that are making home ownership easier, especially in this really tough market. But yeah, like at the end of the day, I would personally say it's like up to you. And if you want to rent versus buy, if you want to have the headache of owning, or some people think renting is a headache, it's just personal preference, right?
Yeah, and I find like people that are kind of like starting a family, the thought of them having to move every few years if they are renting is like, I wouldn't want to do it.
No, I wouldn't want to do it either. Yeah. And like literally potentially your landlord could give you 60 days and be like, I need you out of here. And then you're like scrambling to find another place, but you have all your belongings in this place. And now you have small children and you have to move. And it's a lot of different things, right? Yeah. No, I get that. Okay.
What
Tips for saving on rent and keeping housing costs manageable. I don't even know what that
Tips for
means.
saving. I don't know. It's very difficult because rent is expensive.
Rent is what rent is, yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard. Like I would just suggest the best way is to just do with less, like have less of a wants list and just kind of go with the necessities that you need. Like, you know, and try to keep the costs down low that way, opposed to wanting a bigger space and it costing you more.
And maybe like location, like maybe sacrifice on location like a tiny bit. Like maybe you won't be in like the, you know, most like affluent, nicest area because that's where rent usually costs the
higher,
most, right?
Anytime you're going closer to Toronto too, yeah.
Yeah. And like maybe the walk score isn't the best because
Did you even look at the walk score?
no.
I get for Toronto, yes, that makes sense. But I'm like, I don't even look at that.
Because most people like in like the suburban GTA like will have cars for the most part, right? So why is a walk score even really important that much?
It matters when, yes. So like
It matters in
if your
Toronto,
client
like
does not
downtown.
have a car.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Are there any rent subsidies and assistance programs in Ontario?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm
It
sure
says
there
here
are.
housing allowance programs.
I'm sure there is. I just have never worked with them, and I don't even want to comment on them because I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. How to stand out as a tenant?
Oh, I find that the one thing that I always say is
Like in a
offer-
multiple bidding situation.
in multiples. Okay. Making sure you have all your documentation all together neatly so that they can kind of review it. Making sure that your references, like the rental application is fully filled out, like no blank spaces. Offering, a lot of people offer extra rent if you're in multiple offers. That's an option. That's up to you. I find like when being open to meeting the landlord is huge. Like having a conversation with them. I always make my clients offer that. Not make, but I encourage my clients to offer that. Just so that they can have that dialogue and create that relationship. Some people write a letter, you know, saying, hey, why they want the space and what attracted them to it.
And like include a picture of their family or something.
Yeah, it's pretty much what buyers were doing back in the day.
That's what buyers did back in the day. Be like, please choose us.
Yeah. To be honest, I feel bad, but majority of them did not work. It's like my clients, like my sellers, were like, who's the highest? I'm like, but let's look at these people. And they're like, no, we don't care.
Let's look at the people who put, you know, effort into this. No, so true. So
but I think the most important is like having all your documentation all easily available.
100%. Yeah. And like, obviously, like if it's, you know, an easy, like letter of employment, pay stub, good credit, you're obviously going to be a lot more attractive to a landlord.
Yeah. So let's just go over you guys. For a rental, you're going to need a updated credit report and a letter of employment and typically recent pay stubs. And then you have to fill out the rental application. On it, it will ask what your current address is. If there's a landlord, their contact information, your place of living prior to that, your jobs, like where you've worked in the past couple of years. And then it'll ask for like references as well. So like 2 personal references. How do you know them? How long? And then their contact information.
And this is everything that goes on a tenant application, right?
Rental application. Yeah.
Rental application. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll also ask like your make and model of your car. If you have any financial, like if you have a credit card payment, like anything like that.
Yeah.
That you can
Bankruptcy,
add there.
consumer proposals, all that kind of stuff.
They don't ask that actually.
But
on
you
the
can
rent
see that on the
application.
credit report
Yeah.
anyways. I was gonna say, what do people do if they're self-employed? Because obviously they aren't gonna have that letter of employment. They're not gonna have that pay stub.
Notice of assessments.
But what if most self-employed people, I fear, do not claim a lot of income? So like, will bank statements work in lieu
They
of that?
can do banks. Yeah. So you kind of got to get creative to make the landlord feel satisfied. So like your notice of assessments, pay stubs would help because they can see like these are the last kind of amounts that you have coming into your account, or like a snapshot of
like
your current
invoices
bank
or something.
statement.
Yeah. What if like can you like offer more rent up front to kind of make it
Lots
better
of people do
if they're
that.
self-employed? Yeah. Because I have this by my esthetician, actually. She's self-employed, obviously. And she's like, it's so hard for me to like find a rental because she's like, I'm self-employed and I don't show much income and nobody wants to rent to me. And I'm like, yeah, I never thought about that actually.
Yeah, I would
Sucks.
suggest for her to add like kind of more rent.
More of a rent up front. Yeah.
Just to give them the satisfaction of like, okay, we actually have it in the hand.
Yeah, because for self-employed people, it's hard. Because you don't have that like guaranteed like bi-weekly or monthly paycheck coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. But if they do have notice of assessments and they do claim like a good amount of income, would they need 1 year, 2 year?
I would say 1 year should be enough. Some landlords will ask for 2. It depends on the landlord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at the banks, we always need 2 to do like an average. So I was like
Yeah.
wondering if it was the same, but I guess it's up to landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. How to approach renewing your lease.
Oh, talk to them.
And can you negotiate your rent at renewal time? Wait, that's actually interesting.
Yes. So when you're getting close and you know you want to stay, I would say like talk to your landlord. Say like, hey, our lease is coming up. And then at that point you have a decision. Either you can go month to month without having to sign anything, and your rent technically stays the same unless they give you a letter saying that it's increasing, or you can sign a new lease. So I would say a landlord would be more inclined or more wanting to
sign a new
lease because they know you're kind of guaranteed to stay there for 1 more year. And that way maybe you can negotiate a better rent opposed to going month to month.
Mm-hmm.
But I find if you're a really good tenant, a landlord's not going to just jack it up on you crazily because they want you to stay. You're taking care of the property. They don't want you to leave. So I find that they're a lot more lenient with someone that is treating their property well and is a good tenant. So I would just say like, have the conversation.
Yeah. Like for me, increasing it by like 2% is not even worth me having to like go find a new tenant. Like I wouldn't even increase mine probably because
I had so one of my landlords was calling me. He's like, December, their lease is up, and they've prepaid because they were new to the country. They prepaid for a couple months, so he was like dreading them leaving because they're so good. He's like, so what do I do? I'm like, ask them if they want to. Like, are they staying? Are they going to go to month to month? So they went month to month because they didn't know what they were doing, and he didn't change their rent. He's like, I'm just going to leave it all the same because I don't want them to be inconvenienced at all. He's like, I just want them. He's like, I just want them to stay. So like, luckily it all worked out. Like they're staying, but they're still month to month. So he still has that fear, like they may leave.
So how does it work with month to? Okay, because when you have a like legitimate 1 year lease, you need to give your landlord 2 months advance notice that you're leaving. How does it work for month to month? You just have to give them 1 month's notice.
I want to say it's still 2 months.
Okay.
I think 60 days to me is the one that's coming in my head.
Okay.
I'm not the Landlord and Tenant Board Act. Like I don't have these all things completely
fair
in my
enough,
head right
fair
now.
enough.
I'm going to say yes, it is still 2 months, but a landlord has more recourse if you've signed a year lease opposed to month. Like they're just going to let you go, right?
But even if you signed a year lease, can they like not let you go?
You would have like you could be like, depending on what your lease holds, if there's a clause saying that if you leave midway of your lease or anytime, they can have more repercussions against you or charge you more.
If you leave midway, well, yeah, because you're breaking a contract at that point, but not at the end of the lease.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense because I was like, what repercussions would you have like leaving at the end of the lease?
But I went with like I've had clients who like started renting and like midway through their situation drastically changed, and because they've had a good relationship, they just said, hey, we need to leave the lease. What can we do? And the landlords have all been really good. They said like, listen, either go ahead, you're fine. Or like, can you stay until we find somebody, or pay until we find somebody, which to be honest, hasn't really taken that long. So you just want to be a good tenant because like a landlord will value you. Yeah,
no, totally. Yeah. Good tenants are highly, highly appreciated, especially in this market for sure. Okay. What's next for Ontario renters?
Oh, I don't know. What's next?
I don't know. That's a weird question.
I have no clue. Oh.
I think what's next, honestly, is like it'll get easier to negotiate rent. Because I think, I think less people, honestly, I don't know. I think less people are renting. I think rental prices are going down.
What I hope, yeah. So I hope for the same. I hope that more people are given opportunities to purchase.
Like, look at all these like condos that are going up, like the one on Bronte and Dundas on Castlegate, the Nouveau one. Like, I was just looking at it for my clients because 2 of their units are actually coming up for closing in like 2 weeks, which is crazy. But like every single, like the same thing that happened with mine.
We need to talk because I might have somebody if they're renting them out.
Okay, yeah.
Depending on the price, but yeah.
Because there's like 1 million of them on rent right now. Same thing that happened with my building. So it's like, it's easy. I think it's easier to negotiate.
Yeah. There's a gap. I don't think anybody really discusses. So like you have people that are on really fixed incomes that need more affordable rentals. So I think we need a shift to more either government subsidized rentals or something to help these people that can't afford these astronomical amounts.
So just to recap on things that we've talked about.
Like things for tenants to keep in mind. So one is how you can get evicted.
Yes.
I think the basis is if you have any questions about your rights or what you're entitled to, the Landlord and Tenant Board is your main resource. Make sure you know what you're signing. Make sure you know what you're signing before you sign. Ask your realtor if you're using a realtor. If you have any questions, and make sure that the clauses that are being used by your realtor or the other party are as fair as possible. If you are coming up to an end of a lease and you want to stay, chat with your landlord. I think the biggest takeaway I want everybody to kind of take from this is to ensure that you create a good relationship with your landlord. If you come to them with a problem, you want them to fix it, and they want to make sure that you're just taking care of the property. So it kind of goes hand in hand. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Familiarize yourself with the Landlord and Tenant Board website. Familiarize with Ontario's Residential Tenancies Act. There's a lot of different advocacy groups that are available for you guys. We would encourage you to subscribe here for more tips on navigating the rental and housing markets. Reach out to us. Reach out to Natalie.
Yeah.
If you have any specific questions, like we're here for you guys. We know it can be overwhelming living in a house that's not technically yours. And, you know, for the most part, it can be scary. So we're here for you. But we want to reiterate that landlords are, for the most part, very, very appreciative of a good tenant, and they will not bother you if you're being a good tenant. Like, I never bother my tenants ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, literally just keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
So, don't be scared. We're here for you. And we will link a lot of the resources that we talked about in this podcast on the show notes. And let us know if you guys have any other questions.
Thank you guys.